Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. And we have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's two of the best bots out there. And one of them is Deimos here in the bottom right, a Protoss killer. And taking on Deimos is the definition of old but gold. It's MicroMachine, formerly the top bot, and I believe the top bot for quite a while. However, it's been a bit since MicroMachine got updated, so it is kind of resting on its laurels, which are still very, very impressive. And so, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this match, make sure to go ahead and click that like button if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bot matches, more boats, more bagels, whatever it may be. If you comment it down below, it helps us with the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe if you haven't already. There's that bell icon you can click to get notified whenever we put up new tournament announcements, that kind of thing. And then, yeah, join the Discord, which is linked down below. Okay, so we've got MicroMachine going for a bit of a cheeky proxy, not telling us the build or anything that it's going for. Just a single proxy Reaper. Deimos will scout this with its probe. Does it attack the SCV? Yes, it does, but MicroMachine sends that SCV packing. I think it's trying to avoid the threat as it paths away wildly from that probe. Like, get me out of here. But very good for MicroMachine that the proxy was not delayed or, well, stopped. As I say that, though, another SCV is heading out as this proxy is going to upgrade from a single proxy racks into a factory. The Reaper will pop out. It should be able to kill that probe. Throws down a grenade. Very interesting placement there, but killing the probe is really important because MicroMachine does need to buy time for this factory to get up. It's already a delayed factory, but it still could pay dividends. A Stalker is on the way out for Deimos. The Reaper for MicroMachine, the Micro is absolutely top level as far as most of the bots go, is still, even today. And so it is going to keep chasing these probes, buying time as this Stalker is chasing that Reaper down. Grenade gets thrown, that second probe almost dies, but it does stay alive. The Reaper then paths down that cliff and heads out of the base. Deimos does have a natural base on the way behind this, but the aggression will heat up with this factory about to finish up. I do really like that MicroMachine already constructed the tech lab for the racks, even though for the factory, even though the factory was delayed, it just already has that add-on just completely freed up, which is very cool. So the factory can land on top of that. This Rax is actually moving over, though, so I'm curious where that's going. I guess into the main base, potentially just to scout for Cyclones. The Reaper is inside the main base, getting pursued by Stalkers. There is another Reaper out there somewhere. This one just making its return back into the base, but this is costing Deimos a little bit of mining time. Meanwhile, behind it in this game that's getting very quickly started, MicroMachine has a command center on the way up. Not just one, but two command centers going up inside the main base. So going for the classic cheese into hard macro. The flag of MicroMachine, this Rax, just spinning in the wind as Deimos just holds on with its Stalkers out for now. MicroMachine is beginning to poke with this Cyclone, though. Reaper jumps up the cliff, gets pursued by some of the Stalkers. That one may actually die, and it does. Meanwhile, the Cyclone poking the ramp does just deny a little bit of mining. Unfortunately, there is a bug in MicroMachine because Cyclones have had many changes over the years that the Cyclones are not quite as... Their lock-on doesn't work perfectly for MicroMachine. And let's see here. Siege Tank is now on the way for the Red Terran. We'll see if this can actually get anything done, as it's a lone tank, really without any support. But here it comes on in. It's going to quickly regret its decision as Deimos just pursues that tank and kills it. MicroMachine going for one of its coolest features. It's speed gas mining. So it can actually mine gas a little bit more efficiently. The Cyclone does get home, getting repaired on up. Meanwhile, the Rax is still floating around. Another Reaper goes on in. A very solid defense by Deimos, all things considered, which is now going to shut down this factory too, which is quite nice. MicroMachine just landing its third base. Yes, this shutdown is really well done by the Protoss bot. The next test, though, will be whether Deimos can prevent Banshee harassment from tearing it apart, as it is something that I think Protoss bots do struggle a bit with, using active detection paired with the defense. There is a battery in the main base as a response to the cheese, but nothing else. And so we've got a fusion core on the way behind this for MicroMachine. This is potentially just going to be for hyperflight rotors, not necessarily for battle cruisers, although I'm happy to see either one. The Terran bot is already mining on 3 bases, whereas Deimos is on 2 bases, just pumping out stalkers. No blink, no +1, just building up a boatload of stalkers. Perhaps gonna, well, it should eventually snap out of just producing stalkers and either go for an attack or throw up a 3rd base soon, I think. Banshee is flying out for MicroMachine. I'm excited to see when this harassment begins, whether it will amount to much or not. However, the attack by Deimos is going to be incredibly strong, incredibly basic, but incredibly strong, as there is going to be 19 stalkers rolling up on the base of MicroMachine. Deimos, though, completely lacks any detection, so the Banshees could potentially save MicroMachine in this scenario. So it is unfortunate that MicroMachine is actually firing up a battle cruiser. Just more Banshees would be good in this situation. We do have the Banshees flying over to Deimos's base, gonna get some work done. There is a robo done for the blue Protoss as the stalkers move to the front. There's already one Banshee starting to attack the stalkers, and this is something that MicroMachine seems to do quite well, is actually attack units with its Banshees, because it's very easy to overprogram and have your Banshees almost afraid to fly over units when there's no detection for them. But in this case, MicroMachine is setting to work on killing these stalkers. Looks like the 3rd base is being gutted, so that is definite damage getting done to MicroMachine. On the other side, though, Deimos is now having its natural base be harassed. An observer does come in, however there's no stalkers to help deal with that. The natural of MicroMachine is now being worked on. Banshees, though, are cleaning up the stalker count. We're now down to 11 stalkers, and then in comes the battle cruiser with a couple marauders helping out as well. This should be enough for MicroMachine to clean up this attack. Banshee is still getting some work done, 15 kills in all, as Deimos's economy gets scratched a little bit there. And yeah, MicroMachine will now have to rebuild after losing that 3rd base, but it does still have 30 workers out. It's got multiple siege tanks out too, and just a pretty solid army at this point compared to Deimos. I mean, there's 3 Banshees still active on the map, 2 battle cruisers and 2 tanks with multiple marauders. And MicroMachine is not one to waste time, so it's actually going to move across the map and get aggressive. We'll see if Deimos can defend this or not, as in comes a Banshee. There is plenty of observers present now, though, to actually shoo this Banshee away. However, it maybe can outposition its opponent. Cyclone dies immediately. Marauders are getting gobbled up by Stalkers and the Immortal. It really is the air units that are the main threat for Deimos, as the Stalkers try to dive on top of the Banshee, but then there's a big brother battle cruiser in order to help. And boy, oh boy, does it ever help as it engages these Stalkers and forces them to retreat. A Banshee at the 3rd base still doing work. There's a battle cruiser and Banshee at the natural. These AI games are just so darn hard to observe, as there's so much always going on. Injured battle cruiser teleports out there for MicroMachine. It did get some damage done, but all in all, this does look like a hold from Deimos. So very well done by the blue Protoss, holding the line for now, although MicroMachine is now inching forward with tanks. And I do love that that's what it is, an inch forward, as the tanks aren't really going too far forward. Now both of them are unsieged, though, so this could actually be a little perilous. They're re-sieging, so that's definitely not ideal. The Stalkers narrowly avoid getting shot by the tanks. So yes, MicroMachine really needs to respect this. Tank positioning is something that's very difficult to program, because, I mean, they're completely different units when they're sieged and unsieged, so those 2 tanks do get gobbled up. That's quite unfortunate for MicroMachine. Banshee harassment. This Banshee is up to 16 kills. However, Stalkers with an observer are pushing it away. The red Terran is going to have a difficult time dealing with this army in the middle of the map, as it does look to push MicroMachine away. The battle cruisers, well, at least one of them got partially repaired up. The other one also on higher HP now, but They will get some work done. Teleport is just about off cooldown too, which is very important. Scan to try and hunt down the observers is a cool feature of MicroMachine, but the Stalkers are very wisely pulling back for Deimos. As that Banshee or that battle cruiser just teleports on out of there. This one's probably not far away from making its own escape either. And there we go. Out those BCs go now to get repaired up. Deimos notably has yet to get any more upgrades. Deimos has yet to get any more upgrades. It just fires up a Twilight Council now, 10 minutes into the game. So a very, very late set of upgrades for the toss. I guess it's just been in survival mode for the most part. Aside from that weird attack, it almost looks somewhat similar to the game Eris had, where it just stayed on Lings for so darn long. So it does kind of make me wonder if maybe the developers are... Maybe I'm just crazy. But maybe there is something going on there, as that seems like a very, very big tech delay. It could just be the way the game has gone, though. Now Deimos is being pushed back. The Stalkers having a hard time standing against battle cruisers, marauders, and tanks. There is a decent number of them still, 14 in all. The observer positioning really matters to deal with these Banshees, as Deimos just keeps kiting back. Marauders getting healed up by Medivacs, getting some good damage out. They do get cleaned up. Deimos needs to be pumping out as many units as possible. That Twilight Council is done, but no Blink research has started. We get a second Robo on the way for Deimos as well, which seems like something it might not necessarily... Well, it's at 68 workers. Maybe it can afford to produce off that. And it does just have 6 gateways. So, yeah, I guess Deimos probably can afford that. Blink is on the way, +1 is on the way. So things may be looking up for the Blue Protoss. However, it needs to survive. MicroMachine rolls in with its tanks. They're not sieged up yet. There's one sieging up in the back. Meanwhile, battle cruisers and Banshees are still causing problems all over the map. And if these tanks get sieged and their positioning is good, and if they, most importantly, stay sieged, that can definitely do some work. One of them does get taken care of. That's one of the real good strengths of Deimos, is knowing when to commit onto siege tanks, and it does just that. Battle cruiser and Banshee really are still causing problems, though, as soon as units turn to attack them, they start retreating. So it requires a lot of micro Blink. That's why Blink really helps Protoss out in these bot games. Not just for the added bonus of keeping units alive, but it also pursuing units too. Probes are now running all over the place. Deimos crunching whatever numbers and deciding it cannot engage this battle cruiser and Banshee easily. So mining being disrupted at the natural, mining disrupted at the third, although now it's getting back to work. Supplies are quite neck and neck, and this is such a close game between MicroMachine and Deimos here. Observer doing its work, allowing another Banshee to be picked off. Behind this, MicroMachine is on its own decent economy. I guess just getting its third base up once again. It's not made an orbital command just yet. We do have another fourth base, or pardon me, no, that's actually just a new third base getting built for MicroMachine. So yes, that's where I got confused a little bit for a second. MicroMachine is just resecuring up its third base, so its own economy has not been perfect. Neither bot is on the worst economy in the world, but they're not also on the best economy. For 13 minutes into the game, Battlecruiser teleports back once again for MicroMachine. Those have been a good source of value, and value it has been with a 5,000 resource lost deficit for Deimos compared to MicroMachine. Stalkers, though, now with Blink really can potentially turn this around. Pursuing units, the Banshees could be in a lot of trouble, and there we see it. Blink is starting to be used. One Banshee goes down, a second one goes down. Deimos does have a few units eating tank shots, though, as the pathing of Thunderbird does get the best of a couple of those Stalkers, so that's nice. MicroMachine also has Stim kind of as a counter upgrade. Stalkers are blinking forward again for Deimos, being incredibly aggressive. MicroMachine still just making its ragtag force of units. That's one of the signature things about MicroMachine. It doesn't just play Bio or play Mech or play Banshees or Battle Cruisers. It's always making a wide variety of units. Marauders coming forward are, well, get picked off quite quickly, but definitely at a cost, as MicroMachine still has these BCs alive. They're just never getting killed. They're trading out and then retreating. How many kills does this one have? 20 kills. The other one is at 17, and those are Protoss unit kills. Those are incredibly valuable kills. which is why MicroMachine does have a resource lost advantage, although that is waning a little bit. Thanks to these Blink Stalkers, Deimos does pick off 2 siege tanks and then probably wants to fall back. Bio moving forward, getting blinked upon. This is such a scrappy game between these two. I'm very glad I clicked on this replay. A Banshee is now harassing for MicroMachine. What a back and forth game, as Immortals and Stalkers are still trying to hold the lines. The battle cruisers really are continuing to be problems for Deimos. Notably though, Deimos has completed +1 armor. The supply is really falling for the toss though, as it's starting to mine out its bases. The natural really mining out. MicroMachine does have a 4th base on the way, whereas there's no such thing for Deimos. Now's the time where you'd want to be long distance mining, but it's definitely a good thing Deimos is not, as that 4th base location is not safe at all. A Marine slays an Immortal like a boss, and I think after 15 minutes, MicroMachine may be about to break Deimos. Just the amount of units Deimos was losing has suddenly become unsustainable. The blink maybe was a little bit too late to turn things around. The toss is still mining on a 3rd base, but now MicroMachine has so many tanks out. It is doing a good job leapfrogging these forward. The bio is stimming forward for MicroMachine, and behind this, the Terran does have its own 4th base up. That is just ginormous. We even have a 3rd battle cruiser on the way. With the damage 2 have done, I think that's probably the writing on the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've watched this awesome game up until now, click that like button, leave a comment down below saying more MicroMachine, more Deimos, more bots, whatever it may be. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you do want to support these casts, I appreciate everyone that does. Consider becoming a YouTube member. There's a link to that in the description down below. I was debating maybe like shouting out a member or something at the end of every video, but then also I'm not sure if that's something that every member wants to have done. So yes, just big thanks to everyone that does support the channel. And yeah, what a match this was. It's incredible how entertaining MicroMachine is to watch still, despite not receiving updates for so long. It just goes to show the staying power some of these bots have. And yeah, well done by Deimos, showing us a very exciting game. But the choice to have like 20 Stalkers and no blink in sight was a bit of an odd one. I think it's probably just cheese reaction, and then taking a while to get out of that. But yeah, really great game between these two. One of the like most back and forth games I've seen in a while. I never thought that bot games would be so entertaining, but here I am casting them every day. So GG.